Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the National League wildcard game played between the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates October 7th, 2015. We're going to go over every at-bat, and we're going to go over the stats, and we're going to give our breakdown and analysis. So on the mound for the Pirates, Garrett Cole, and on the mound for the Cubs, Jake Arrieta. So to start things out in the top of the first, Dexter Fowler led off with a single. He then stole second, and then Kyle Schwarber hit a single to left, and Fowler scored. So it was 1-0 Chicago over Pittsburgh before an out had even been recorded in this game. And as things would go, that would be all Ariata would need in this game. But let's go to Bryant. He ended up grounding into a double play. So it was 2 outs for Rizzo. Rizzo would reach on a throwing error by Walker, and then Listella would strike out, so Cole would get out of the inning, but not after the Cubs had put a run on the scoreboard. So now to the bottom of the first, Jake Arrieta on the mound for Chicago. He gets Polanco striking out, and then he got Harrison a ground out. McCutchen hit a single, but then Marte struck out. So 2 strikeouts in the opening inning for Ariata, and after 1 inning, it was 1-0 Chicago. So now to the top of the second, Cole on the mound still for Pittsburgh. He ends up getting the side retired in order, as he got Castro and Montero to ground out, and they got Russell to fly out. So on to the bottom of the second, and Ariata would send down the Pirates in order, as he got Cervelli to ground out, struck out Walker, and they got Mercer to fly out. So now on to the top of the third, Cole would get Ariata to strike out, and then Dexter Fowler would come up for the second time in this game, and he would get his second single of the game, and then Kyle Schwarber knocks a pitch all the way out of the park to right field, out of the park, home run, a 2-run shot, and it was now 3-0 Cubs over the Pirates. Bryant would then walk, but then Rizzo hit into a double play. So he actually popped into it to short, and Bryant got doubled up at first. But not after the Cubs added 2 more runs, as Fowler was able to facilitate, and Schwarber was able to get the RBI with the 2-run shot. So it was 3-0 heading to the bottom of the third. Ariata would end up getting Alvarez to strike out, as Alvarez came in to pinch hit for Rodriguez. And then Cole struck out, and Polanco struck out as well. So Ariata striking out the side in the bottom of the third. So then in the top of the fourth, Cole would get Listella to ground out. Castro would ground out as well. Montero got a single, and then Russell struck out. So now on to the bottom of the fourth, and Ariata would send down the Pirates in order yet again, this time with a fly out by Harrison, a line out by McCutchen, and a ground out by Marte. So now on to the top of the fifth, Ariata would lead off, and he would strike out, and then Fowler came to bat for the third time in this game, already with 2 singles, and Dexter Fowler takes one deep to right, and it was now 4-0 with the solo shot. Schwarber would fly out, and then Bryant lined out, but not after the Cubs had added another run to extend their lead to 4-0 after 4.5 innings. Because now we're headed to the bottom of the fifth. Cervelli was hit by a pitch. Walker flew out. Mercer would strike out. Alvarez struck out. So after the hit by pitch, letting Cervelli take first, Ariata would then set down the next 3 batters. So now it was on to the top of the sixth. Antonio Bastardo came in to relieve Cole, as he was done for the evening after having let up 4 runs in 5 innings. So Rizzo was the first batter that Bastardo faced. He struck out Rizzo. Then Jackson hit for Listella, and he struck out. And then Castro popped out. So Bastardo set every batter down that he faced as he set down the Cubs in order in the top of the sixth. So now on to the bottom of the sixth. And Ariata would end up letting up a single to Schneider, who would come in to pinch hit for Bastardo. Polanco then lined out. Then Harrison was hit by a pitch, so it was 2 on, 1 out for McCutchen. McCutchen reached on an infield single, so now the bases were juiced with just one out. And this was where Arrieta faced his most trouble and potential for letting up a run in this game. Bases loaded, Marte at the plate, and Arrieta gets him to hit into a double play, and that would bring the inning to a close and keep the score 4-0 Chicago over Pittsburgh. So 2 hits in the inning and 2 runners stranded in scoring position for the Pirates there in the bottom of the 6th. So in the top of the 7th, Tony Watson would come in to relieve Bastardo for the Pirates on the mound, and he would strike out Russell, the first batter he faced. And then Ariata came to the plate, and Ariata was hit by a pitch. Watson hit Ariata, and both benches cleared. It was a big ruckus. Rodriguez was going pretty crazy. He actually ended up in the dugout going a couple rounds with a Gatorade water jug. Well, Gatorade jug, as it were. And he actually seemed to get more hits off of that Gatorade cooler than the Pirates got off of Ariata in this game. So anyway, Ariata actually stole second after everything calmed down. And then Dexter Fowler came up to the plate for the 4th time, and he flew out. So after getting the 2 singles and the home run, they finally got Dexter Fowler out, and that would end the top of the 7th. So we had the 7th inning stretch. And then for the bottom of the 7th, Jake Arrieta was back on the mound, still out there for Chicago. He would let up a single to Cervelli, but then he struck out Walker, and then Ramirez would come in to pinch hit for Mercer, and Ramirez hit into a double play. So a double play ends the inning for the 2nd straight inning for the Pirates. And so now the Cubs would come to the plate in the top of the 8th, and Joakim Soria was on the mound relieving Watson for Pittsburgh. And the first batter he faced was Denorfia, and Denorfia walked. Bryant then struck out, Rizzo struck out, and Jackson struck out. So after walking Denorfia, Soria ends up striking out the next 3 batters. So now we're on to the bottom of the 8th. Jake Arrieta still on the mound for Chicago. He gets Alvarez to strike out. Morse would then pinch hit for Soria, and he hit a single, so Morse got a single. Now Polanco, he flies out. Harrison strikes out, and that would take us to the top of the 9th. So in the top of the 9th, Mark Melanson would come in to relieve Soria, and he would end up setting down Castro and Montero, and then Russell got a single, but he tried to stretch it to 2, and he was out at second. So the Cubs go down in order in the top of the 9th, even though technically it was a hit. But we are on to the bottom of the 9th, and Jake Arrieta was back out there on the mound, just 3 outs away from the shutout in the complete game for the Cubbies. And the first batter he would face would be the best batter in the Pittsburgh lineup, Andrew McCutchen, and he got him to ground out. Marte then came up, he grounded out as well. And the final hope for Pittsburgh was Francisco Cervelli, and he lines out to Starling Castro, and this game came to a close. The shutout complete for Ariata as the Cubs win 4-0 in the wild card game in the National League, and they'll be going on to the NLDS to face the St. Louis Cardinals, their rivals there in the National League Central. So quite a game by Jake Arrieta, the complete game, and he actually extends his scoreless inning streak to 31. 31 scoreless innings for Jake Arrieta now, extending into the playoffs. And he actually made some history in this game with his line, as he is the only pitcher in postseason history to pitch a shutout with no walks and more than 10 strikeouts, as he had 11 strikeouts in this game. No walks, no runs, just 4 hits for Jake Arrieta. So a history-making performance for Jake Arrieta in the Cubs as they are moving on in the 2015 playoffs, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are all done. So quite an amazing performance by Arrieta. He was really working the fastball, his slider as well, getting some good breaks. He's got some amazing stuff, and he was just setting down a really tough Pittsburgh Pirate lineup. And of course, on the offensive side for the Cubs, Dexter Fowler coming up huge, as he was really the facilitator for their offense, got it all started right off the rip with that leadoff single to lead off the game, then stealing second, and then coming around with that single from Schwarber. And then in his next at bat, he gets back on base, and then Schwarber hits it out the park to right field, making it 3-0, and then Fowler adds the other run with a solo shot. So Dexter Fowler and Jake Arrieta, some huge performance. Schwarber as well. It's really good defense for the Cubbies as well all around. Bryant made an amazing catch at one point. Ball came right at him. Looked like he was going to drop it, but he ended up flipping it back up to himself. Of course, Castro there with that catch to end the game. Just this, fundamental line drive, but still good defense all around on the infield and in the outfield for the Cubs as they are moving on. Like I said, Ariata gets the win. 9 innings pitched, just 4 hits allowed, no earned runs, no walks, 11 strikeouts. Garrett Cole gets the loss. 5 innings pitched, 4 runs allowed, 6 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. The relievers for Pittsburgh did a really good job. Bastardo, 2 strikeouts, no hits, no earned runs in 1 inning. Watson, no hits, no earned runs, 1 strikeout. Soria, 1 walk, no hits, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts. All these just 1 inning, as each reliever pitched 1 inning. And Melanson, 1 inning. He did allow the only hit of the relievers for Pittsburgh, but no earned run, no walks, no strikeouts for Melanson. So good relief pitching by the Pirates, but they couldn't get anything going offensively. And the Cubs, they jumped out to that early lead, and who knew just after 2 batters that the 1 run right there was all that Ariata would need. Of course, they added some insurance runs in the 3rd and then the 5th. The Cubs moving on. And Dexter Fowler, 3 for 4 in this game. He crossed the plate 3 times. Every time he got on base, he came across home. Of course, he had that 1 home run. So that was his RBI that he had. Schwarber with 3 RBIs in this game, as he drove in Fowler twice and himself once with that 2-run shot in the 3rd. He was 2 for 3. He also scored a run, obviously, when he hit that home run. That was the bulk of their offense. Is the only other players for the Cubs to even get a hit in this game was Montero, who was 1 for 4, and Russell, who was 1 for 4. Of course, that was that single that he tried to stretch to 2 and got called out at second. So it was really the top of the lineup that really did all the run production for the Cubs, as all 4 of their RBIs were from their leadoff hitter and their number 2 hitter, Schwarber. So Fowler and Schwarber, big performances. Only 4 hits on the other side for the Pirates. McCutchen, 1 for 4. Cervelli, 1 for 3. Snyder was 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter, and Morse was 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter as well. So it was a really fun game to watch. Especially, I like to see, a dominant pitching performance. And we just saw, in the other wild card game, a very dominant performance by the Astros pitching, especially Dallas Keuchel. And then Ariata outdoes him here in Pittsburgh for the Cubs. And they're moving on to face the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are, the most decorated postseason team in the National League history. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. It's the first time they've ever faced each other in the postseason. Of course, that's in large part, obviously, due to the new, wild card system. As it was before, it would have been impossible for them to face each other because they're in the same division. But it'll be interesting to see how that one goes down. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend, and have a great weekend coming up. Here we are in the middle of the week. It's hump day as I record this and as they played the game. As you're listening to this, it might be Thursday morning, so the weekend is closely approaching. But thank you very much for listening, and enjoy all the sports.